How to see God in everything. Hi, I'm Anne-Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. So, if you cannot see God in everything, you cannot see God in anything. I know that's a radical statement. And we could also say, if you cannot see God in everyone, you cannot truly see God in anyone. This is a challenging talk today. We never shy away from those hard topics, you and I. So let's dive in today to see if we can find a little bit more understanding of how to maneuver through the more difficult things in life so that we are never separated from this all loving, all sourcing God energy or oneness. So, in a time where people are really polarized right now, it is growing more and more challenging to stay connected to one another, to give each other the benefit of the doubt, and also our relationship with God, the divine, whatever you give that name is your choice, right? But with that energy of oneness, that relationship can really be impacted in a negative way, especially when we're going through times of adversity. And if we don't have the tools to truly navigate those very devastating, sometimes very terrifying times in our life, we really miss out on the opportunity for deepening our spirituality, deepening our capacity to fully enjoy this incredible gift of life. And we instead kind of drive ourselves down the path of divisiveness, of pain, of suffering. And that's not what any of us wants. So thanks for joining me today. This one is a challenging one, and as requested, it's a little bit of a continuation from the last talk. So let's go in a little deeper. So let's start with an easy one. So where is it easy to see God? Let's start there. All right, so I know so many people can say, like, it's so easy to see God in innocence in like babies or children. It's so beautiful to witness the purity and the innocence in a child, or in nature when you're out in nature and you feel that frequency of beauty and connectivity. So it's very easy to connect with that, with God in that way. I know when I was growing up in Colorado, all it took was a little hike to the mountains, a little getaway, a little separation, just to reconnect, to be silent, and be amongst the majesty of the mountains. Really, there are no words. Those of you who have been there know what I'm talking about. So, innocence is something. We can see it also when someone is helping someone else, service, when we're giving to someone else, the call of duty, a devotion to purpose. So that innocence and that connection to purpose is a very easy place to see God. Coincidence, also, we say coincidence, we can say miracles, these inexplicable unfoldings in our life, the medical miracles that happen where we don't understand, there is no logical or scientific explanation. It's very easy to see God there, right? It's very easy to see the miraculous. Also, in accidents, like when somebody goes through something very tragic, like a car accident, or is shot or something, and something happens where I know this has happened many times in Colorado, where an avalanche will happen and a car will be pushed off the road, and then a tree will come through the windshield and just miss the person. Had it been like an inch to the right or the left, the person would have not been alive. So these beautiful miraculous events happen, it's very easy to see it there. And I want to say something about the word coincidence, because actually in the Hebrew language, there's no word for it. There's no word for it because there's a really, really beautiful quote. I'm not sure who said it. I think it's an anonymous one, but that says, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. It's all how we believe, right? It's our choice to believe whatever we believe. And today we're looking at how our beliefs are impacting our peace of mind, our ability to move through the most challenging parts of life. So let's go a little deeper. I love Shakespeare. I quoted Shakespeare last week. And I'm bringing it up for a very good reason. And we're going to talk about filters today as well. And in Shakespeare's Othello, there is a quote that goes like this: "Trifles, light as air, are to the jealous confirmations strong as proof of holy writ. Now, I know that's a lot of crazy words thrown together, but I'm going to read it again. So, trifles, light as air, like trifles, like seemingly the smallest thing, okay, to the jealous are confirmations of truth, of reality, strong as proof of holy writ, of like the holy writings. That's how powerful our minds are, our filters are to interpret. And if you don't know Othello, I put some links in the notes about this, as well as oils that help to reconnect you with that source energy. But in Othello, Iago is arguably one of the greatest villains, convinces Othello that his wife is unfaithful. So go check that story out. It is such a beautiful teaching about how quickly we can allow our filter and our love and our sanity to be hijacked by those fearmongers. So our filter is how we see the world. So if you think about rose-colored glasses getting a really bad rap, oh, she's wearing rose-colored glasses, so Pollyanna. Well, rose-colored glasses are very powerful if used correctly. If they're used very immaturely, they can get you into a lot of trouble. But the power of our filter is so, so strong and essential for us to truly create this experience rather than being like the pinball in the pinball machine, just getting popped around by circumstance and emotion, really. So let's now dive in. Where is it difficult to see God? Okay, I've chosen 4 areas we're going to look at today. So all delusion, before we get there, all delusion stems from separateness, the inability to recognize a bigger picture. So all delusion stems from separateness, our inability to see that bigger picture, that bigger perspective. So let's look at the 4 most challenging places to see God, to recognize that oneness. And we'll take a look in each one at the false belief, the entrapping pattern, and the liberating filter associated with each one. So these are tools that you can use. First one, all right, well, I'll list them first, okay, so you know it's coming. So we have pain, injustice, violence, and death. Woo, super sexy topics for a Sunday morning. Let's look at pain. So pain should be avoided at all costs, right? Relationship to pain, our relationship to this in our lives, be it physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, is cause of great delusion. So let's look at this. So examples of this, like Christopher Reeve is one of my heroes of all time. He played Superman, gorgeous physical phenomenon, beautiful specimen of a man. And he became, through a horse accident, unable to use his entire body and barely able to speak, barely able to breathe. So the pain, the physical pain of once being like this amazing specimen of Superman, and now, and he's passed on at this point, but what an inspiration he was. I heard him speak years ago, and just the power of his moving through that adversity, immense physical pain, immense physical limitation, was so inspiring. And he used it for good. Another thing, like egoic mental pain, our mental pain that is caused by our ego, like desire to look good, desire to be right, desire to identify in a certain way. The emotional pain of rejection, when someone in our family or a friend rejects us. Okay, that's very painful. And also spiritual pain, our belief system, when things get devastating. Okay, so examples of that: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual pain. Our false belief that perpetuates this is that pain should be avoided, that life should just be pleasurable. Okay, and I have done a whole talk on pain, so if you want to go deeper, check out that pain talk. And then the entrapping pattern here is addiction. Addiction, that's where pain really stems from, or the avoidance or the rejection of pain. So our addiction to pain, our addiction to pleasure or avoidance of pain is that entrapping pattern. And then the liberating filter here is what if pain is one of the greatest teachers? What if it's one of the greatest openers of our heart? And we'll look at the very end of this talk at the 2 archetypes that are so essential to this talk today. So stay tuned, hang in there. Second source of where it's so difficult to find God is in injustice. So this is when we see thwarted fairness or a rejection of circumstance in some way. So examples of this are the poor. I know when I visited Soweto, a township in South Africa, I mean, seeing how these people are living and unbelievable life circumstances. The caste systems in India, where you cannot move, you don't have a country like we do here, where you can be born poor and grow yourself and find success. We see this in racism, in sexism, in bullying. And the false belief here associated with this injustice is that traps us from seeing of God here is that life isn't fair. Oh, it's such a trap, such a false belief. Life isn't fair. Now, no one of us can prove that life is fair or isn't fair, but it is a belief system that keeps us trapped in suffering. So the entrapping pattern here is anger, angry at everything, victim mentality, thinking of yourself or others as victims, everyone getting a trophy, pulling out this separate experience that we are existing and just trying to live in a oneness, or rejection of separateness, rejection of adversity. Let's look at the liberating filter here that we can access. Adversity, what if we could see adversity as a gift when embraced? It's only a gift when adversity is embraced. An example of this is like a poker hand. Any good poker players out there know that there is no bad poker hand, only a bad poker player. It's how you play the hand. And if we think about it this way, I was talking to a friend the other day and I talked to her and I said, you know, what if life is about a point system? We all get like 50 points and they're either put in the physical category, the spiritual category, the financial category, whatever. And our gift to one another is to share those points, to help give a hand up where we need to in order for that person to realize or to earn those points in the other categories that weren't gifted. And no other greater example, I'm wearing a sweater I got in one of the poorest villages in Peru. And Anthony and I have traveled all over the world and really made it a point to educate ourselves about the way that people live in different areas. And I have to say, the woman who sold me this, as well as so many other children and people we had met in the poorest townships, in the poorest slums of India, had the brightest smiles on their face and the lightest beacons coming out their eyes. So injustice, it's relative if we see things in a certain way. Now I gotta go quickly. So violence, abuse, rape, war, natural disasters like forest fires or floods. Okay, violence. When we experience this, a false belief here is there is irreparable damage, that it shouldn't have happened. This can never be righted or repaired. Entrapping pattern is also self-victimization and identification with the victim or with the trauma, and anger again. So a liberating filter here is, what if we could take on this beautiful quote? Tony Robbins said it best when he said, life is happening for me, not to me. And if we look at the villains in our lives, I also go back to Shakespeare in from Life, or As You Like It. And in the very beginning of As You Like It, the Shakespeare words are, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. So what if we're all playing these archetypes so that, somebody has to be the villain in order for someone else to be the hero? Someone has to be the student in order for someone else to be the teacher. Someone has to be the damsel for the other person to be the savior. Okay? Very different way of looking at things. And then the last thing is death. Oof, this is a big one. Join us, Anthony and I, on Wake Up Wednesday to go a little bit deeper here. So death, examples of this: murder, disease, dying from disease, child cancer, child death. That's one of the most painful things. And we go, how do we see God in this? Genocide. I just was speaking with this beautiful, I think she was an octogenarian Armenian woman in Costco the other day, and we were talking about the plight of the Armenians. I mean, the false belief here with death, I'm going to go quickly because I have very little time left. Death is bad. Death's the end. Death is failure. The entrapping pattern here is avoidance, denial. This shouldn't be, or fear of what is happening after death. And the liberating filter here is really recognizing that death is a part of life, impermanence, vipassana, law of anicca. It's honoring the soul or the life choice. We don't know what it's like to be on that deathbed. So we've got the victim mentality, and then we've got the archetype of the alchemist. All right, guys, hang in there. This is a tough one. Keep raising the vibration. Bye, everybody.